We look at it, we're different than even some of the other giga projects, because we look at the target audience in 5 segments in a broad way. Now, obviously, when we have meetings in tourism, it's 100, 200 segments, but let's look at it in 5 buckets. We feel very deeply that we have to benefit the community we serve, because a lot of times around the world, you get these big developments and they leave their own community behind. So right now, we don't buy a single thing without buying from Darraya first. Now, Darraya is a thriving community within the municipality, within the metroplex of Riyadh. So even our first district, which will be ready by the new year, is catered to Darraya residents. That's one bucket with a full marketing plan. Riyadh as a global city, as a full market plan. Saudis traveling within Saudi, which was abundant during the COVID. We could talk about that. Then Gulf, because Saudis have one of the highest tourism spends outside the kingdom. We had one of the highest tourism spends in the world during COVID because of nationalism and Saudis supporting the kingdom. So Saudis coming back to their birthplace, and then, of course, the entire international market.
Okay, so it's both. You want citizens of Saudi Arabia and international tourists, but regardless of who they are, there is an awful lot of competition out there, isn't there? Why would an aficionado of leisure and culture want to come to comparatively small Diriyah in Riyadh compared to, for example, the pyramids or the Acropolis or the Colosseum in Rome?
It's exactly that reason. Because, and this also changed during COVID. What happened with COVID, when people were cooped up for a year, and this only accelerated a trend that was happening for the last 20 years, and that is people want human touch, but they want authenticity. They want to see real things, not fake things. Now, listen, you can go and see make-believe pyramids where I went to school in Las Vegas. Not as emotional as seeing the real pyramids. You could create a Petra somewhere, not as real. You know, the Crown Prince had a state visit from President Vladimir Putin of Russia. Now, as you know, President Putin is a very composed person, doesn't demonstrate great emotion in public. He had a dinner with the Crown Prince at Darraya. And you know what he said? This is a very emotional place because it's rich. It's got 300-400 years of culture. So the birthplace of the kingdom is actually that. It is to Saudi Arabia what the Acropolis is to the Greeks, what the Colosseum is, what Machu Picchu is. So when people come to the Gulf, they're going to want to say, where did it start? Where is the house of Al Saud? One family in continuity and vision for 130 years. Now, sometimes people say to me, you have so many giga projects going around the kingdom. Are they in competition of each other? No, they're very carefully thought out because the kingdom controls 45% of the Red Sea. It's abundantly beautiful. We have 5 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, all with different personalities. So people are going to come to see a beautiful country that they've never seen before.
I was going to ask you about that, Mr. Manzarillo, about the fact that there are a lot of projects in a similar vein in the kingdom. It seems as though the kingdom is almost rediscovering its heritage and its history. Are those competing? Are they complementing? How does a Diriyah fit into that scheme?
Yeah, they are not in competition. They're very intelligently crafted to complement each other. We had the courage, thanks to the custodian of the 2 holy mosques and our dynamic crown prince, to open the kingdom to tourism. Well, you're not opening the kingdom to one city. You're opening the kingdom to a large country with vast geographical personalities. So even in the kingdom, food, dance, music, costuming, topography. You know, when you say to people it snows in the north in Tabuk, wait a minute, I thought Saudi Arabia was just deserts and camels. Oh, kind of a boring stereotype. But you can't reverse this stereotype unless people come to visit, which is why you have to praise the custodian of the 2 holy mosques and the crown prince to allow it. But now it appears that there's a lot of giga projects. But it's only because if you look at Singapore, what Lee Kuan Yew did, 50 years, what a success story. You look at the great vision of the Emirates, right? 30 years, basically. The Crown Prince is going to accomplish that in 15 years in a big, beautiful country. So you need all these giga projects, but none are in competition of each other. Okay. They're all complementary. And by the way, all the CEOs, very, very close to one another because we're excited about the national profile.
Mr. Inzerillo, you have vast experience of the global tourism business. You trained in Las Vegas. You worked with Kirshner, one of the great names in the international business. You were editor of the Forbes Travel Guide for many years. So you know this business. Frankly speaking, tell me, can any destination really compete on a global basis without alcohol in its food and beverage mix?
Yeah, it's a great question. And when we started doing focus groups on what would attract people to Saudi Arabia, those questions came up. Questions about costuming and apparel. Those questions came up. We had some questions that came up in the preliminaries that were honest but a little strange. Am I allowed to stay in the same hotel room with my wife? Right? Well, this is because the kingdom wasn't open to tourism. But this is very interesting. When we did the post-review, after people had visited us, issues of alcohol wasn't even in the top 5 because what happened is that people were astonished about the beauty of the kingdom, Instagram, given all the different views around the kingdom. They were astonished at the warmth of the Saudi people, how much fun they had, that by the time their first day, second day came, those weren't even issues. Now, we did relax dress code, and all the people that came, like non-Muslim women that are traveling into the kingdom, if you don't want to wear an abaya or don't want to wear a headscarf, you don't have to. But you know what we found out in the post? Many people enjoyed it because now it's a fashion item. And, it's not just the conservative apparel that was, 1979, 1989, even 1999. So now, like a lot of the visitors that are coming, they like dressing up, right? And they find it respectful to the customs of the kingdom. So some of the issues that continue to come up, we have found that they're less of an issue when we asked in the post.